Hi there, and welcome to the second episode of Triumphant Tales. My name is Patrysha with a Y, and my Y is ending family violence through education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. And so this online video show is for those living in or recovering from domestic violence. In this episode, I'm going to introduce you to my three muses and their friend who drive the content for this show and my website. And I'll be introducing you to the concept of ancestral healing with our guest, Jane Whiting. And so I hope you will enjoy the content that I've put together for this show. So I basically have three muses, character sketches, if you will, as I hope by sharing this information with you that it will help you to decide where you fall amongst this content if you are a survivor, and if you are a supporter, that you can drive your friends and family members that you're trying to help to the content that most fits where they are in the spectrum. Now, in so many ways, these character sketches are based on the me I used to be and resources that I wish had existed as I went through the journey and process of becoming free from the domestic violence that I was literally born into. So we're going to start. I'm going to actually take you over to a computer screen, get off the camera for a while, and just talk you through the three muses and what you see on your screen is the visual representation of the personas that I picture in my mind when I'm creating content for Triumphant Tales and Patrysha.com, and when I'm considering which guests to invite to the show and to the blog as guest bloggers. They are Veronica Green, Tabitha Blue, and Karen Plum. And each one of them represents a different stage of the recovery journey and a different stage of the entrepreneurial journey. You may find that you resonate with Veronica Green when it comes to the business side of things, but more of a Karen Plum when it comes to the relationship side of things. So that's one thing to keep in mind as I do go over who these people are in my mind when it comes to their personalities and their needs. Green, and she is, as the name suggests, green. She is new to the concept that she might be in an abusive relationship. She's trying to figure out whether it is just a hard and difficult relationship or a particularly difficult time, especially as young parents. That is a normal thing to go through, and she's trying to decide whether this is within the range of normal or whether it is bordering on abuse. So she has those questions. So she's green to the relationship side of things, and on the business side of things, Veronica Green is new to the concept of working from home. She's not sure if it's exactly the path that she wants to take. It is something that she wants to consider, as it would be so much easier with young children to work from home and make a living from home, but she's not quite sure whether that's the path to take. So again, Veronica Green is green and she's new, and you will resonate with her if you feel green and new to the concept of living in an abusive relationship and living a work-at-home mom life. So that is the persona of Veronica Green. In the middle of the personas that I hope to reach is the persona known as Tabitha Blue, and she really is in the middle and the midst of things. She knows her relationship is unhealthy and potentially abusive, but she's not quite sure what she wants to do about it or how, and so she's feeling overwhelmed, in the middle of things, and a little blue. And that's where, if you resonate with that feeling within your relationship, you are going to want to look for the resources that are tagged with blue and that have the Tabitha Blue avatar attached to them, because those are going to be the resources that are most helpful to you in the midst of your overwhelm. When it comes to business, you'll want to look for Tabitha Blue resources when you already are kind of past the stages of startup with your business and you're looking for ways to grow your business through marketing, publicity, and the other various ways that you can grow your business. And so you're in the middle of things business-wise, looking for Tabitha Blue resources. And finally, we come to Karen Plum, and she has started those first step towards freedom. She has left her abusive relationship as learning to live and cope with life in a healthy and non-abusive environment. She is still dealing with the after effects of having been involved with an abusive, addictive, or alcoholic individual, but mostly she is free in that respect and is looking for ways to heal so she doesn't make those same mistakes over again, and so that she does not become bitter in the process of recovery. So that's where Karen is in terms of relationships. And in terms of business, she knows who she is and what she wants, and she's ready to take business to the next level. She is looking for mentorship and coaching and connections, and she's ready to turn her life around. So Karen Plum is reaching the end of my capabilities as far as a coach goes, but will be a good partner in discovering the next part of the journey together. So I hope that you now understand the three muses that drive my content and the vision of what I have for Triumphant Tales to bring forward into this world, so that we can together eradicate family violence through education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. And the fourth one that I didn't mention and that I don't picture is Sarah Supporter. She's the one who has not had to live through domestic violence in her own life, but wants to support the women in her life who have encountered it. And so Sarah Supporter is someone who I think about as I'm creating the content, but who isn't a primary focus of it. So if you are a Sarah Supporter, I do encourage you to reach out to me and let me know a little bit more about what would help you in Triumphant Tales with the support that you need to be a good supporter to the Veronicas, Tabithas, and Karens in your life. And it's important to remember that these are just character sketches. Not all of them are going to 100% fit a real person out there. Veronica, Tabitha, and Karen and Sarah exist so that we can find ways to connect with each other and to find ways to understand each other through this process, this journey that is Triumphant Tales. Now, our guest today is Jane Whiting, and she's an ancestral healing coach from Australia. And I have to admit that a few years ago, I would have completely dismissed her concept as pure woo-woo. And I have to admit, I am still not sure what I think about communication with dead ancestors. But I do think that it is very important to consider the generational and the genetic roots and the impact of domestic violence. And you're welcome to come to your own conclusions on her and the concepts that you share. And if they do resonate with you, I share her contact information on the screen, and I'll be sharing it in the comments area so that you can click through to find out more about Jane and the services that she does offer as an ancestral healing coach. Here is the interview. Jane Whiting, who is calling in from Australia, and she's going to be talking about some of the aspects of healing relationships. Jane, if you could just give us a brief overview of what it is that you do in your work, because it is quite unique.
It is, yes. Thank you, Patricia. I'm a relationship and ancestral healing coach, and I work at the soul level. So I use guided meditation and help my clients to connect with their soul for healing. And then we work at that level to connect with the souls of others, particularly our primary relationships, because they're the relationships that are most impacting on our lives, starting with our parents, partners including ex, and children, and then ancestors. And I find the ancestral work is hugely powerful and healing. I think it's a missing link, actually, for many in their healing, on their path of healing, because I've found it to be amazingly insightful and tremendously liberating as well. And
so guided meditation, how does that differ from the meditation that we might be familiar with from yoga and other, how does meditation work in the sense of connecting?
Well, I just, obviously I'm guiding the meditation and I bring in the person's soul. So I help my clients deepen their soul connection. So, and we work very much on healing of the heart, awakening the heart center, because that's where the wisdom lies. And I don't know if I hope I'm answering this question correctly, but so our soul's perspective is very different from the personality perspective. So it actually shifts our vibration as we deepen and work with our soul in meditation. So it's just imagining or sensing or being open to the words that are coming to me as I'm guiding the meditation, that the healing happens, because our soul is a divine being. It's very wise, it's very loving, it has unlimited capabilities, and it sees the bigger picture of our lives. It knows it only has our best, our highest good. That's its only concern, and also it sees what's best and wants the highest good for others as well. So I find that it's tremendously empowering. It changes your perception. It gives us a deeper understanding of why things are happening in our lives and what the opportunity for growth is for us. And it just leads to a greater wisdom, where we learn to naturally act in ways that are more intuitive and more in alignment with our greater good.
Awesome. And so you have a course coming up. It's a 12-week course on developing the love that we want. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, it's actually a program. It's a personal coaching program. So it's a one-on-one coaching program that I'm running all the time. And it's called Break the Cycle of Toxic Relationships and Experience the Love You Deserve. Because the problem is, for many of us, we take on the programming of our parents, and they've taken it on from their parents. So we have a lot of subconscious and beliefs and programs about ourselves, our capabilities, our worthiness. Because let's face it, the times our parents probably lived in, were raised very differently, with a very different consciousness to the consciousness that we have now. And so a lot of these beliefs and programs are actually unconsciously ruling our lives. Like, we don't even know that they're there, and they sit in our energy field, and they become a part of our vibration, and they put out these messages out into the world of, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I don't have personal power, it's not safe to speak up, it's not safe to use my voice, it's not safe to shine my light, etc. And so in my program, I work very much we start with the parental relationship, because that's a key relationship. It's our first relationship, and it sets the tone for all other relationships. And often there's cycles, patterns of behaviour like abuse, adultery. And for us as women, we've come from that feminine line of disempowerment. Like, women have been disempowered for centuries, if not thousands of years. And it hasn't been safe for us to speak up and own our worth and speak our truth and shine our glory out into the world. We had to play small, is what I'm trying to say, because we had to people please and be submissive to gain the approval of those around us, often for our survival, as a means to protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe. But it's not like that anymore. Times have changed so dramatically. So I found that working with our parents and then that flowing on down the ancestral line is a game changer. I experienced it in my own life through my own personal path of healing. And I think we're being called like never before. Women are being called to step up, step out, reclaim our power, shine our light into the world, because we're living in such an imbalanced, harshly patriarchal world. And we need to heal our feminine side for ourselves, for our children, and for the men in our lives as well. So did that answer your question? And so that's what my program's based. So we work on our primary relationships, because it's our relationships that flavour how we feel about ourselves, how we see ourselves. And it's actually not about changing anybody else. It's all about that inner relationship with our inner core, our higher self, our soul, whatever we want to call it, but that sacred space within us that nothing and no one can ever violate. So my mission is to help women with a passion and a purpose to create a better life for themselves, and that flows out to others through deepening their connection with their spiritual essence, the truth of who they really are, because I see it as the only solution to solving all our personal problems, and globally as well.
And so a person would take this program, and it's a one-on-one program, and I imagine it's like this through Skype or some other way of communicating. And then, so through that 12 weeks, now would this be appropriate program for somebody who's still in a toxic relationship, or would this be something that you'd take sort of after you've made the transition to freedom?
It's absolutely for anybody. It can be for somebody who's in a toxic relationship, most definitely, because it will help them find their own personal power and a better way of expressing themselves. And first and foremost, it comes back to that sense of self-worth and self-love. And a person who has a healthy sense of self-worth and self-love will not tolerate abusive and unacceptable behaviours. And often even just having that intention can create change in the outer world. Because I know sometimes for women, they can get really frightened about making changes in their lives, because they're so frightened about what the consequences will be if they do find their voice, if they do own their power, if they do start, stepping up and defending themselves. They're frightened of what's going to happen in the outer world. But the changes I'm talking about first and foremost are within ourselves. We've been so damaged, as I said, and we're so fragmented because of that damage. And as we change, often those around us change also. So this is for anybody and everybody, especially those women who are in dysfunctional, abusive, or relationships where they just don't feel are in alignment or are respectful and honouring of who they really are, because it always comes back to us. We have to take responsibility for our lives and for ourselves first and foremost. And I know in my own life, I've been married for almost 30 years now, and my relationship's the best it's ever been, but it hasn't always been like that. And it's only now my husband can really see, he values me now. He's really seeing the value of who I am and what I do. And so it's a work in progress, but it doesn't mean, for those who are, it doesn't mean that you have to leave your husband or your partner. That may mean that, but it really is just about living the life and living your potential and living that joy that we're meant to be, and shining and experiencing the gifts and talents and the beauty, that intrinsic beauty That is our birthright.
That sounds awesome. And so, where can people find you online and to connect with you and to explore whether the 12-week program might be something that they want to take part in?
My website is Quantum Coaching with Jane. So obviously www. And I have a Facebook page as well. But I'd say go to my website, outlines my program. It's a 12-week program, and it's hourly sessions for every week, or at least hourly sessions minimum, and I record the meditations. And I also hold an energetic space of healing for 7 minutes every day for my clients, because it's a coaching and healing program. It's because that's where the true change happens, when we shift in energetically. And I'm so passionate and so committed because I know what it's like to be downtrodden and in that space of deep despair and unworthiness and powerlessness. And so it's my passion, and I'm really committed to helping as many women as possible. And I have to tell you, I was talking to someone yesterday, and it's $1,500 for a 12-week course. And I looked, that's Australian dollars, and in US dollars, it's an absolute bargain. Like it's $1,050. Well, it was yesterday, so it's not expensive. I thought, God, because I know how much work I put into it. So the dollar conversion works well in your favour in the United States anyway.
Well, in the U.S., not so much in Canada, but we have that same problem right now. But yes, for the U.S. watchers and viewers, it's definitely more of a bargain now than it's ever been in years. And unfortunately for our dollars in Australia and Canada, we're not getting the good end of the switch. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the wonderful part of being global, is that you can take advantage of some of those dollar downturns, so to speak. And so with this, would you say that your work is something that is complementary to the counseling and therapy that we might go through in real life, where you go to a counselor or a therapist? Would this be complementary to that treatment?
Most definitely. If whatever you're doing is working for you, keep doing it. Most definitely. It doesn't interfere with any other work that you're doing in any way. Personally, I think it goes deeper, but yes, no, it's definitely a complement to anything and everything. There's nothing that you would say, don't do that, just do this.
Yeah. And I also hearing about this, I'm wondering how you came to discover and to be able to bring this to the world, because it is such a special gift. And, is there a story behind it?
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a story. I had a very dysfunctional childhood, and, well, I think I did. One of my brothers doesn't agree with that, but I carried a lot of hurt from my childhood, and as a young adult, I was a mess. I was just so wounded. And when I married my husband, I was so controlling, and I just hated myself, really, to be honest. And I was totally disconnected from my spiritual self. I hated God. There was no God. I was just angry. And when I had my children, I realized that I needed to take control of my life, because I didn't want to repeat the story of the past. I wanted to be a good mother. I wanted to stay with my husband. I really loved my husband, but I knew that he wasn't getting a fair deal. And so I started reading books on spirituality. I started taking responsibility for my life. And that in itself was just the realization that there actually is a God, and that all the religions are the same God, for me was so liberating. It was so wonderful to have that hope once again. I found hope and purpose and meaning. And then I just started my own very intense personal path of healing. But I found that when I started working at the soul level, that then there was a big shift in my relationship with my mother. I found that I felt like I really was able to forgive her, because unforgiveness, or I don't even know if that's a word, unforgiveness, lack of forgiveness is so toxic to these negative emotions. The hurts that we carry are so corrosive to our soul and to our truth. It's such a burden for us to carry. So And then, so working at the soul level, and I did so many I've done so many courses, healing courses and whatever, and coaching courses and soul coaching courses. And it was just really through my own growth that I was inspired. And I'm a registered nurse, that I was inspired to take this work out in a bigger way. So I find now that, and it's a never-ending, where it's a work in progress. We never stop learning. We never stop growing. But I have to say, I'm so grateful for where I am now. I'm so grateful for, I still have family members that don't agree with what I do, who I am and what I do, but that's okay. And I'm just so comfortable in myself now. And I see such a great need in the world for women like us who care and who have so much to offer. The world is crying out for us to reclaim our worth and our sacred feminine power, that sacred feminine wisdom that has been so damaged and lost along the way. And I see it in my own ancestral line, and my ancestral healing is so important, because our ancestors are a continuum of our consciousness, and if they're damaged, if they're not sitting comfortably in their rightful place within the family tree from however many centuries ago, then that affects us very deeply. And I've realized that in my feminine ancestry, on one side of my family, there was a huge loss so many generations ago, and a lot of sacred wisdom and sacred power was lost. And the impact of that on my mother and on me has been absolutely devastating. So we really need to look beyond our relationships in the world today and look back towards our ancestors and acknowledge and honor and respect them, and pray for them and learn from them and be open to their communication. And then that affects the future 7 generations as well. So it's tremendously important, and I've found that for me has been enormously liberating in terms of who I am and what I want to do, is making peace, and it's a work in progress, with that feminine line of my ancestry that was so wounded. And I suspect for women who are coming from abusive relationships, that there's a huge component, quite likely that's playing a big role, because it's a symptom of the damaged or the wounded feminine, which is ultimately the sacred feminine.
Absolutely. And so, what is a good starting point for somebody who is just discovering about energy and healing and ancestry? Do you have any starter resources that you sort of say, okay, this is where you want to start?
Okay. As in, you mean just like a daily practice, do you mean? Like
well,
a personal
either a daily practice or, one of those little books that sort of covers, the outline of what it is and that sort of thing, sort of a beginner resource for somebody who might be coming from, who isn't familiar with the terminology and getting into it. Like, where do you start, or where did you start that you found that was a good beginner resource? Because I find a lot of the resources, or at least this has been my experience, they expect you to know certain things, and if you don't know them, you kind of get lost for a little while trying to understand what's almost in many ways a new language, because it is a new way of thinking, and it comes with, so I'm kind of looking for a beginner resource that I can say, this kind of explains it, or at least starts to explain it.
Okay. Well, I can't really remember, such a long time ago, I can't specifically think of any books, but there are so many out there. I've got a free webinar that I gave a few weeks ago where I outlined the basic principles, the energetic laws of the universe that govern our relationships and that affect us from experiencing the love that we deserve. And I think hopefully that explains things fairly simply. So if anybody would like to contact me, I'll very happily send them the link for that. First and foremost, I think go within. Just every day tap into your heart center, because what somebody's saying might not necessarily be right for you. So it's very much a personal journey, and my number one tip would be just start set the intention to connect with your spiritual essence, that inner wisdom within the heart center, and ask that to guide you. And that might seem overwhelming for some people, but it's just a moment of intention, and every day just cultivating awareness of that inner wisdom of the heart and asking that presence to reveal itself, and to guide you, because that's where the power is. There's so many resources out there, and that's fantastic, but ultimately the reason they're there is to connect us back with our inner strength, our inner wisdom. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but look, I think even just saying a little prayer here and there, we've lost our sense of sacredness for ourselves and for life, and by that mean our sense of awe and wonderment and respect for who we are because of the world around us. And I think we need to reclaim that, to start and really own and honour who we are, and speak kindly and gently to ourselves, watch the inner dialogue, and stop ourselves when there's harsh criticisms and you're stupid, you're an idiot, all those things that we say to ourselves. We really need to go within and just say a prayer each day. And then I think that the resources will come to you, because there's so many out there. There's so many. But yeah, as I said, I've got that free webinar. It goes for about an hour and 10 minutes, and that's explains the laws, how I see them, and how they've worked for me and how they work with my client.
Awesome. And that sounds like a great webinar to start, because you said it goes through those foundational elements that might be confusing for some people. That is awesome. It's been awesome talking to you, and I really appreciate the time that you've given us. Now, is there anything that I have missed that you'd really like to get out there to women who are living in or escaping from toxic relationships right now? Is there anything that you have that you'd really like to get out for them?
As in a message, are you saying?
Yeah, a message, or, just something that I might have missed in the questions that you think that's really relevant to their lives and their recovery.
I just want to say, believe in yourself. You can do it, and you are so worthy of greatness. You deserve to be loved. Everybody deserves to be loved and valued. And first and foremost, cultivate that relationship with yourself. Really start to value and love and honour who you are. And then as you do that, then you will not tolerate dysfunctional or abusive relationships. So first and foremost, believe in yourself. Own your worth. Nurture that sense of love for yourself within, which is a healthy love for... It's not about appearances. It's about that sacred space within, that eternal space within you. Know that it's there, and just know that you believe in yourself.
Awesome.
And
that is a great message to share, and thank you so much for sharing with us, Jane. And I will be sure to be adding your links so people can connect with you and find out about the one-on-one coaching and the webinar that you have available for those foundations. And I'm just thank you so much for agreeing to be one of the first guests on Triumphant Tales.
Thank you. So I have a 10-minute free meditation also for healing the heart, if people are interested in that as well. So I can send them the link for that as well if they're interested. And thank you so much for the wonderful work you're doing. It's so important.
It's a beginning. I'm just really excited.
I hope you'll join me again next week as Triumphant Tales continues the journey to end family violence through education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. My name is Patrysha with a Y. I'll see you next week.